Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with another episode of Market Monday. This week we're going to be talking about Fate Reforged cards that I suggest that you hold on to at least or start to pick up pieces of this while they're going to be at their lowest. Now again, little bit, you don't need to just jump on this right now. In fact, most of these prices will continue to drop for about, I would say, 6 months and then be at their bottom for another 6 months. So you usually have with these rotated sets a good year, a whole year of a window of opportunity to pick these up. So one thing I did notice is after I did my Cons of Tarkir speculation video, I went on Puka Trade and there were so many people that were actually already aggressively trading for my top 10 list, which is, it makes me kind of happy that there's people who actually watch my channel and listen to my advice. But at the same time, you don't need to just jump on these right away. This window of opportunity will last a year. Let me repeat that one more time. You have a while to pick these cards up. So you want to be smart with your trades. You just want to start throwing these cards in and say, hey, you want to get rid of this? I'll take it type attitude. Say, it's just all about convincing, that use your kind of trade power to pick up these other cards that people don't want anymore. They have less of a value than what even you see on this like paper price that MTG Goldfish or the TCU Mid suggests. One thing that you can with these cards that I, especially Fate Reforged, since Ugin and Soulfire Grandmaster and Monster Mentor have pushed the prices down of the rest of the set way, way, way low. That means that a lot of these times you can pick these pieces up in multiples on TCG Player for the low price rather than the mid price. You can pick up like 15, 20 quantities of these. Those are the ones I suggest. So just keep these on your radar whenever you're browsing over the TCG low prices. I showed it in my last video how to do that. Usually I like to click the check mark that says 4 or more and then take off the item price plus shipping and just go do item price only, and then you can see like the people that are selling multiples. I really like to target vendors that are selling like 20 cards with a $1.99 shipping. That means you can get away like a bandit because then it makes the average shipping price of each card 5 cents is what that'd be. So anyway, let's just go over. First of all, I'm going to just talk about non-bulk. So when I buy collections, the first thing I do is I separate the cards into what I consider true bulk, and what is considered non-bulk. So true bulk is cards that have absolutely no chance of ever seeing any sort of constructed play. Those are your 2/2 bears. There's always like a 2/4 for 4 mana white creature every set. Those are the type of cards that are just in there for draft purposes. They're actually your 22 and your 23 pickups in draft. Those are the vanilla cards that are already outclassed by cards that are very similar to it and have no chance in hell of ever seeing play in Pauper, Modern, Legacy, Commander, etc. So the first one, then there's what I call bulk, but it's not true bulk. They have interesting abilities that you never know. Those are like Burning Inquiries would be a great example of it. Thought Scours, well, I'd actually say Thought Scours would be, non-bulk. But there's cards that currently have never seen play, but it just might take a right strategy to get them into play. And then there is another category which I consider non-bulk, and those are the cards I set aside. Even if they are at quote-unquote bulk price, I just know that within a matter of time, they either do see play right now or it's just very, very close to actually making them or have seen play in the past. And it'll just be a matter of time before they see play again, and eventually those cards the demand will start to outstrip the supply, and then you'll have like a 50 cent, 75 cent, dollar card in the long term. We're talking 3, 4, 5 years, but it's always nice to plan ahead. It's just like the stock market. That's what you do is you plan. You can invest in a company while it is still starting out, and you hope that in 3, 4, 5 years it's going to be very profitable and they can cash out. This is the same type of thing. I'm doing this now with Bushwhackers. I've been selling Bushwhackers now for about $2.25 a piece. I picked up a multitude of those cards when they were 15 cents a piece. So that is the whole reason for this first category. So these are some of the cards that I think that you should set aside and not just bulk. The first one is Humble Defector. This card did see some play in some twin decks back in the day. This is also it's easy to kill this guy after you've drawn the 2 cards. So the Humble Defector is seeing play in a Target Red standard, but it hasn't shown up in Modern whatsoever. But it's got some decent little combinations with it. You draw 2 cards, target opponent gains control of it, and you can sack it in response. So the trigger goes on the stack, you let it die, you get some cards. The next one is Fascination. This is a very, very popular card in Commander, especially there's a lot of commanders. This is any commander deck that uses like Howling Mine type strategies. There are plenty of them. I just played against one our last Commander tournament. And what is the one out of the Mind Seize deck? There's a Nekazar, I think is what it's called, that likes for each player to draw cards because it deals damage equal to the amount of cards they draw. And then it's got this other ability to actually mill on its second mode. So I think the Fascination is quite a good card for Commander. I don't think you'll ever see play outside of Casual and Commander, but I mean Casual and Commander cards do start to go up in the long term. So anywho, then there is the next one. Actually, I'm not gonna. It's Temur Sabertooth. Temur Sabertooth is really, really good. It's kind of like what I consider the Deadeye Navigator Light, especially with cast effects. I use this card. It's one of the most broken cards in my Animar Soul of Elements deck because it's able to bounce back for 2 mana your big Eldrazi cards that want to be cast. Anything that has the cast, not the enter the battlefield. Temur Sabertooth is my go-to card for that. Again, this is Deadeye Light. If Deadeye Navigator ever does get banned in Commander, this is a card that you can at least bounce it back to your hand to replay it. It has a lot of combinations in the Commander format. I think that it'll never see play. I don't think in Modern or whatnot. But again, it's a great little unique ability. I think it goes perfectly in that casual type format and is definitely not what you consider bulk. The next one is the renowned Weaponsmith. This card is another. There's one like this that sees play. I play this in my Thada Adel Commander deck. It adds 2 mana to your mana pool, and then you can activate this only to activate artifacts or cast artifacts. So it's really good. I never use the second ability because of the Heart Piercer Bow or the Vial of Dragonfire are usually not very good for Commander. But any sort of artifact type tribal in Commander, this is one of your basically mana dorks is what you consider it. Again, it's probably not going to be able to see play in Modern. There is very similar cards to this, and like the Grand Architect does a similar ability to it, but it is an Artificer. I'm just a very few cards away from being able to actually create an Artificer tribal. I've done it before in Modern. Works out pretty good. I'll have to revisit the deck if we get another blue card. But it's not bulk. It's got a very unique ability. It's a 1/3 for 2 mana. It fits the bill of a card that could all of a sudden see play and all of a sudden be a $1 uncommon, and that's exactly what you want to target. Next one is Hero's Blade. This is an all-star in Commander. This goes in so many decks. Any sort of Commander deck that wants to win by Commander damage, this is going to be an auto-include because it's basically free. The equip cost is free once you cast your Commander. So you're thinking about like Skittles decks and Shu Yun decks that are very popular, Narset decks. These will give +3/+2 to your Commander. Start dishing off that Commander damage very early. And yeah, it's good in equipment decks as well. It's not bad to equip for 4. But legendary creatures, there's going to be more and more printed as time goes on. And this card is going to be a staple in many of those type of decks. Alright, so those are the non-bulks. Now is my top 10. I think we have 10 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, 10. So the first one I think that you should invest in is Valorous Stance. And I do not suggest investing it right now when it's worth $1 because it's still seeing some standard pressure, which is the price. Wait till this goes down to bulk and then pick this up for 15 cents a piece or 10 cents a piece. It sees play every now and again in Modern. I definitely think it is powerful enough in Modern. It can kill Goyf quite easily, and it can also have the added ability of giving something indestructible. Right now it's actually very good in the format because it can kill the Thought-Knot Seers and Reality Smashers and also give one of your guys indestructible. It's going to be a card that I think is very, very powerful compared to, there's really nothing else like it out there in white at the moment. And the 4 toughness again is there's quite a few targets in Modern. So once this hits bulk rate, that's when I suggest start picking these up. And you never know if this, 2, 3, 4 years down the road is going to be a 4F staple in some sort of Modern deck. And then you get the huge value of shipping this off for, $1, $2, $3 a piece. So don't invest right now. Wait till this drops down. The next one is Shu Yun the Silent Tempest. I actually like this more of the foil at $2.75, $3.35. This is a very popular Commander. If you actually check out like the EDH Rec or MTG Goldfish Commander section. You see this is very common, especially in tiny leaders. It's a very popular commander in tiny leaders. It is one of those cards that is very capable in Commander by killing on, if you go a first turn Soul Ring into a second turn Shu Yun, you can actually kill someone on turn 3 in Commander quite easily with the prowess triggers as well as the ability to give him double strike. And there's like, he's very, very paired with, very well paired with the equipment that gives double damage, not double strike. I think it's called Trepidation Blade. Is that the card? I think that's it. Or Inquisitor's Flail. One of the two that does double damage. And then as soon as you pump this up to Shu Yun, he can one-shot people in Commander. Don't think he's ever going to be powerful enough for Modern. It's just too easy to shut this down with a Lightning Bolt or a Path to Exile. 3 mana is a lot to try to invest in to protect. But it does have that extremely powerful ability. I don't know, maybe one of these days that Modern will try it over... Well, the thing is, Geist is kind of the same little area as Shu Yun, like the 3 converted mana cost, and Geist just has the hexproof, and I think there's too much you need to do to protect Shu Yun. But in Commander, tiny leaders, other type of casual formats, I think this is going to be a very popular card going forward. There's really not a card like it. The prowess is good on it. The ability to give double strike is good on it, and having the added effect of it being a legendary creature. I don't think that it's going to stay bulk prices in 2, 3, 4 years down the road. So this is a good... I love penny stocks. I love a card that's 35 cents that ends up being $2 within 3 years. You quadruple your money. That is exactly the cards that I'm targeting. Speaking of a card much like that, which is a bulk mythic at $1, which will continue to go down, I think that you can target these around 50 cents. Is the Shaman of the Great Hunt. This card is amazing in +1/+1 counter decks. I use this I actually have flirted with this in a Shaman deck in Modern. I just don't like it because of Collected Company, but if I use Lead the Stampede over Collected Company, I really like Shaman of the Great Hunt as my alternate finisher. It is a 4/2 haster for 4 mana, and whenever creature you control deals combat damage to player, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, so any of your things that connect become 5s. It has very good synergy with the other Shaman, the Rage Thrower, because then it gives +1/+1 counters to them. Usually if Rage Thrower, you want to end the game immediately with 1 attack, but, I mean, if you have to come back the late game with Shamans, this is the card that will get you there. I really like his Ferocious ability to draw a card for each creature control with power 4 or greater. It's also enabling that. I use this card in my Animar Soul of Elements deck as a way to refill my hand, because basically everything in my deck is going to have power 4 or greater, or if nothing else, what ends up happening is the Shaman is going to pump up your Animar and pump up itself, and you're going to be able to at least draw 2 cards with your Animar. All you really need to do with Animar is start drawing a few cards, and then you can go quote-unquote infinite with it. This is a staple. I don't ever see myself cutting it from Animar. This card is also really cool. It's a card called Training Grounds, which reduces the activated abilities of creatures by 2, and then it would just cost a green or a blue to draw a card for each creature controlled with power 4 or greater. Now, this card cannot go in any other deck besides the blue and green and red decks, the Timur decks, but there are plenty of Timur commanders, and the more Timur commanders that are printed, the more decks are going to want this in the long run. So I think this is a very good mythic to invest in for the long term. Wait till this goes down to 50 cents, then start picking up multiples to save even more on that. You can have people throw this in as trade fodder. These are usually still in people's binders. Mythics usually always make it into people's trade binders, and then again, just ask for a throw in. It's only $1. If you're trying to trade like a big trade, like a $30 trade, these are the cards that you can sweeten the deal. Even if it's even if it's a 30-30 trade, you can say, hey, can you throw in some Shamans? And people will be like, sure. At that point, they don't want to give up their trade. So keep that in mind. All right, the next one is Temporal Trespass. Anything with Delve is broken beyond broken. I don't think that this one was just, 8 was a lot. I think 8 is like the straw that broke the camel's back. You know, Dig Through Time was considered, and Treasure Cruise considered too easy with just the double blue and the single blue with 7 and 6 Delve. But Temporal Trespass is triple blue with 8. But I do believe the Take All the Turns decks do like the Temporal Trespass. Let's go ahead and look and see if they do. Yeah, all the turns do run it, although this is just actually the standard. I thought maybe the modern deck doesn't quite want it because it is too hard to cast with 8, because they don't use like fetch lands, but I think that there will come a time where the Temporal Trespass will probably be modern play. Anything that has to take an extra turn usually sees play eventually in these casual decks. There you go. Casual players love to take extra turns. And I think if we allow this card, it looks like it's trending upwards rather than its lowest point. But a mythic at $1.50, that I think it should be pushed up to the $2-3 range eventually. I think you can double your money quite safely on this card within 2 years. So especially foil copies at $6 a piece. Next one is Dark Deal. Even though this is an uncommon, I think this just has such a unique ability. I think the more cards printed, the better this card becomes. Each player discards all cards, then draws that card's -1. It works perfectly like the Waste Not deck. Waste Not is just like missing just a few pieces to really, really make it. The thing I don't like about Dark Deal is it gives you the more card disadvantage because you have to cast a card and draw one less card. But in anything that can make that up, there's a hybrid mana card. What is it that allows you to draw cards equal amount of cards your opponents discard this turn, which works perfectly at Dark Deal. It's going to be a casual favorite. Again, if we see any sort of reprints of like Liliana's Caress or any other cards that want players to discard cards, Dark Deal is going to automatically go in those type of decks. And in Commander, any sort of discard deck, which is a very popular Commander archetype, I think Dark Deal goes in every one of those. It hasn't been reprinted. We see the foils at only $2 is also a pretty good pickup. I think that this is going to be a card that's going to be 50 cents a dollar within 2 to 3 years. You've doubled your money. You'll have people actually want to trade after this card. And yeah, I like Dark Deal for the long term. Next is Outpost Siege. Outpost Siege has seen play in Modern before. I think Jun likes this every now and again. Scred likes this every now and again. It's an enchantment, so it's harder to kill. It survives like Abrupt Decay. This is a control card. Once you do name the cons, you get an extra card per turn. I haven't seen Jun use it in quite a while. There's a Modern deck that has seen it at least recently. The grindy mid-range decks, unfortunately, haven't seen play in Modern for quite some time due to the rise of the Eldrazi. But I think after the Eldrazi ban, we will start to see more of the mid-range Junge type strategy, UWR strategies see play again. Outpost Siege is just one of those cards that goes perfectly in those decks because it does give you that. It's the Phyrexian Arena in red. I really like this card a lot. And, I mean, it has seen play. That's your... If it has seen play any time throughout the history, these cards seem to crop their heads up again. And who knows, if this were to, for example, see like I kind of like this in the Boros Planeswalker deck. I don't know if I like it over Chandra, though, because Chandra's a Planeswalker, and she kind of does a similar ability to this. But just, for example, say for some reason a Pro Tour even only has one of these or two of these in their sideboard, wins it with Outpost Siege, this card will spike. And this is exactly where you want to get in on it. It's historical low. I think it will go down to about 50 cents a piece, then you can start picking these up, because it still is being played in Standard. I think all of Fate Reforged was sold. I think Fate actually did outsell Dragons just because of how quickly Origins was reprinted after Dragons. And Dragons was just one of those small spring sets. It actually was a large spring set, and I think that there was just too much... things being printed at that time that made it so that, wasn't it Modern Masters? Was that before? I'm trying to get my timeline right. Anyway, so Outpost Siege, I think Fate Reforged was printed more, and that's when you see a lot of these cards like really down to bulk prices. But Outpost Siege is not bulk. Next card is Rally the Ancestors. This card has already proved itself in Modern. It goes in a Aristocrats type strategy in Modern. It is still a bit high for its historical, but I think it will go back down to under the dollar. And this, you never know when a Modern Aristocrats will actually be good. See, you see these two in Modern. It's very powerful, incredibly powerful card. I knew it. It was one of my top spoiled cards from Fate Reforged that I wanted to brew around. And I did brew around a little bit, but then people started beating me to the punch. I've always liked these type of effects. This is a wonderful, wonderful card with anything that can then sacrifice. Because I think that they messed up the card. They needed to exile the cards if they ever left the battlefield. But the thing is that if they're no longer there when Rally starts to read the exile effect, then they don't get exiled. So you can just recur this over and over. If anyone's played this in Standard, this card's a powerhouse, and it actually has more broken things to do in Modern. I think this is very smart to pick it up I think that it should go down to about 75 cents, 50 cents, and then start picking these bad boys up. Next one is kind of awkward just because of the popularity of the deck that it was printed in, the Tasigur, the Golden Fang. Was this the same as the Collected Company? I can't remember which deck this was in, but those have all dried out. You can't even find this deck anymore, the pre-constructed deck that Tasigur was in. And so I think that this is going to slowly start to recover. at $3.35 for a card that has seen play. I believe this card has seen play in Legacy. It's a very powerful draw type effect. And let's go down here. Yes, it does see it a food chain deck and an Abzan Maverick deck. Plenty of modern decks love to run it. Very, very powerful Delve effect. If we see Grixis Delve is getting eaten alive by Eldrazi right now, but it becomes very popular when there's a lot of hyper-aggressive decks, and I think that that's what we're going to see after Eldrazi's out, is we're going to see a lot of Infect and a lot of Burn, and Grixis Delve does very well against Affinity. It just has a lot of pieces that just punish Affinity, like it has access to Shatterstorm, it has access to actually even Ancient Grudge, has access to Kolgan's Command, and those are very, very good cards. Abrupt Decay, all those are extremely good cards against the Affinity. So Tasigur is just a no-brainer. Very powerful card. $3.35. That's criminally low right there. Last one is actually going to be two commons that I think are the smartest pickups from the Fate Reforge. The first one is Temur Battle-Rage that's been trending upwards for quite some time. This card should go back to a lower cost, I would think. This sees play in Pauper, Modern. Basically Pauper and Modern. A lot of Pauper decks love this. The Delver Fiend Affinity, which are very, very popular Pauper decks. There is also a Modern deck. The Kiln Fiend deck loves this card. It is one of those, it's so far our best double strike pump spell. It's instant speed. Assault Strobe is our lowest double strike for just one red, but I think the added benefit, a lot of people have replaced Assault Strobe for Temur Battle-Rage just because the Ferocious gives it trample, and it's exactly what you want to see in a double strike deck. That way it just doesn't get, all the damage doesn't get eaten up by a chump block Lingering Souls. So Temur Battle-Rage allows it just to push through that pseudo unblockable damage and gets the job done. So I think that this card will be one of those. We're seeing Thought Scours at $1 a piece. We're seeing again the Goblin Bushwhacker at $2.25, $2.50 right now. This is one of those cards I think that you should just separate immediately and put it aside. And then especially services like Puka Trade. I think I've actually Puka traded off quite a few Temur Battle-Rages, which is crazy because it's still in a standard set. And then you just trade up towards rares that then have better long-term. See, the problem with commons is they really have like this ceiling they can hit because they exist out there in high quantities. It's just people have them like thrown away. I mean, they're in bulk binder or bulk bins places, and so eventually when they do hit like $1, then it's like worth it to search for them, and so people start searching their commons and uncommons and will start pulling out their Temur Battle-Rage. So they do have a ceiling that they can hit. Otherwise, rares though, like a 45-cent rare can easily get up to $4 or $5, whereas a 45-cent common I don't think can do that. I mean, we do see Gitaxian Probe starting to push that envelope, and then things like Serum Visions, but Serum Visions was way back in the day. Last and certainly not least, of course, this is the card I suggest you pick up like crazy and separate from your bulk bins, is the Gurmag Angler. I now own over like 100 copies of Gurmag Angler. I have actually started Puka trading them a little bit. They hit 35 cents every now and again for some reason on Puka Trade, and I do get rid of them slowly just because I think there's things that will, in the short term, go up in price faster than the Angler. And this is a card I can easily get, especially come rotation time now when people are going to start selling me all their bulk from like Fate Reforged and whatnot. I'm going to pick up even more of these. But this card sees tons of play in Pauper, sees play in Legacy, and sees play in Modern. Hits all of the Eternal formats. It's a very powerful effect. 7 mana for a 5/5, which you can get out as early as turn 2 in Modern with the right type of fetch lands and Thought Scours. This card is insanely good. Huge body. Survives basically everything in the format besides Path to Exile. I mean, survives Lightning Bolts. It's hard even for Skred to get up to the 5 mana to kill it in time. And yeah, just a really, really powerful card. 24 cents for a common. We saw Temur Battle-Rage for some reason is worth more. I think it's just the casual card. The casual crowd likes Double Strike more than it likes Delve. But I think that, yeah, long term, these are going to be your dollar commons. These are going to be your Thought Scours within 2 to 3 years, in my opinion. So just to recap, I think that Valorous Stance, Shu Yun, Shaman of the Great Hunt, Temporal Trespass, Dark Deal, Outpost Siege, Rally Ancestors, Tasigur, Temur Battle-Rage, and Grimlock Angler are my picks to definitely invest in. I also think that there are some worthwhile commons and uncommons just to float from your bulk bin to your non-bulk bin and I think that's a smart choice. Pauper is on the rise. There's a lot of cards from Fate Reforged that do see Pauper play. Casual as well. This was a very, very good casual set, at least for Commander, with cards like Fascination and Humble Defector. And just know these prices, and then wait a couple, like, you have a window of that year opportunity, but you just plan ahead. I made a killing off of Thought Scour. Again, I'm going to show you my Puka trade history in a bit with Nature's Claims and Thought Scours. I made complete Modern and Commander decks off of Thought Scours. Let me repeat that. Thought Scours, a common card that you could find off people's draft trash. People would just leave their draft piles, and you could just pick them up, throw them, set them aside. And eventually, people used to laugh at me for it, but, well, now I've built complete decks off of it. Be savvy. I mean, money is, people, most of us are definitely college students, and we don't have the most expendable income. Be smart with your Magic trades. Be smart with your investments, and you won't have to pay an arm and a leg for Magic the Gathering. Anyway, this has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.